Welcome back to Sunday Showers for the Source. My name is Patrice Hunt, and thank you for joining me for this first Sunday of season 2 of Sunday Showers from the Source. I'm so excited to welcome all of you back who've watched the previous season, and I'm excited to welcome maybe somebody who's new who hasn't seen the previous seasons. So if you haven't, I'm going to link up here from season 1, episode 1, and you can binge if you like, but you don't have to. But I just want to come on here. I'm just so excited when it's like the time rolled around. It's crazy to me that it's already been 2 months and it's like time to get back on it. So I'm really excited. One of the reasons I stepped away was because I really felt God moving within me to get this book, My God, My God, My God, written and finished. And I was finding it kind of difficult to do the podcast and do all my duties as a wife, all my duties as a mother, and every other hat that I wear in life all the time, and still get that book done. And so I felt like the book was getting put on the back burner. And so God just kind of placed it on my heart. Let's end this and let's do this as a season, the first season, and then you'll pick back up. So it is actually officially like the 1 year anniversary of my first episode of this, of Sunday Showers from the Source. So that's exciting too. And so it's just so much to look at and look over. And I really didn't have anything like a topic that I wanted to cover today or anything in particular that I wanted to talk about. I really just wanted to come back on and say hi and that I'm excited and I'm ready to get started in this season 2. So one thing I wanted to definitely talk about was the book, My God, My God, My God, because stepping away was the best thing that I could do, because like it was 11 chapters. I think when I stepped away, I had only written one. Now I am on chapter 10, in the middle of chapter 10, expecting to finish it like any day now, and then get on to the last chapter, chapter 11. So I'm really excited. I'm kind of having some peer reading done and some preliminary editing done, like while I'm writing it. And so all of that's going on in the background. So I'm just really excited about this process this time. When I sit down and write, one of the things that I'm really aware of is that it's God. Like it's not me like pulling these ideas or these thoughts out of thin air. It's really God leading me to them, because I don't know how many times I've sat down, because what I'll usually do is like once I end a chapter, I'll like save that as its own file or whatever. And then I'll open up a new file, put the chapter it is and the title of it. And then it's just this blank page. And then I'll end the day and I'll just say, I'll pick this up tomorrow. And so it's inevitable that every time I sit down and I look at the topic, I'm like, this is going to be a very short chapter, because I don't have nothing to say about this. Like, what could I possibly say about this? And every single time when I sit down, God is like, say this. Because the first thing I do when I sit down to write, I also ask that God would decrease me and increase within me. I ask that I would just be a vessel, that He would just use my mind and my hands to express the thoughts and feelings and desires that He wants to get out. And so doing that, it's definitely evident that He speaks through me. But another way it's evident is because like today, when I was getting ready to do my prayers and stuff this morning, I'm on chapter 10, and the title of chapter 10 is The Gap. And so I was getting ready to do my prayers this morning. And so one of the things that I was looking at in my, it's like a journal that I had written, a prayer journal that I had written before, and then I do my Our Daily Bread every day. And so when I looked at my Our Daily Bread, it was a note on today's date. It was a note that referenced me back to a prayer journal from 4 years ago. And it was like, oh, this date in the pink journal, I wrote something that was really helpful or something. That's all I wrote in there. So, I read the Our Daily Bread every year. So this isn't something new. And so, but just getting back and like something in me, it was the Lord. I don't know why I'm saying something to me. The Lord just really placed on my heart. Okay, go look back and see what you wrote on this date in 2021, in that pink binder and in that pink journal. And so I went back and read it, and it was something that just really spoke to something in this chapter of the book. And I was like, man, like, God, you are amazing. Like, you really are amazing, because I had no intention. I didn't know what I was going to write. I kind of, had made a note on my computer, like on a little sticky note, of an example of something that happened to me. And I just wrote like windshield wiper or something like that on the sticky note. I didn't know how, like, God had just like, was like, oh, I can use that in this part. I didn't know how he was going to use it. And so I was like, okay, windshield wiper. That's all I had for the whole chapter of the gap. But then when I looked at this note that I had written 4 years prior, um, it just like the floodgates opened up, and he gave me all this stuff to say. And I was like, God, thank you. And that just showed me like God is real. And like when it's in his word that we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good things which God had created in advance for us to do. The whole things that God created in advance for us to do is real. Because if I think back of like, that was 4 years ago. If I think back to 4 years ago, what all had to happen for me, or even just think today that what all had to happen for me to get to a point where um, I would get what I needed to write this chapter on this right day. Because what had to happen was I would have to still be reading Our Daily Bread in 2025. And I was. And I would have had to written a note in my Our Daily Bread back in 2021 about a note, a thing that I had written back then, which I did. I would have had to have something compelled and stirred up in me. God would have had to stir something up in me, so much so that it compelled me to write down what he placed on my heart, in that pink journal, which I did. And like whatever it was, all had to like come together in this perfect web to create this situation for me to have what he wanted me to write 5 years later in a book that he was going to give me. So I just think that's amazing. And I'm so grateful that I serve a God who uh, functions with the big picture. It's not like he is not, he is definitely not a small picture God. It's a lot of times when we are in life, when we feel like, oh, life is hard, life is tough, I don't know what's going on, and I've been praying to God and he's not answering, or this is going on in my life and I really need this and I don't know why I'm going through this. And it's like God has already made a way. He's already made a way. He's already fixed it. And for him to do so, for have been doing this 4 years ago, and for me to just now use it, that's amazing. And so I hope that encourages you, or if it's something going on in your life that you've been praying and hoping and believing God for, and it hasn't come to pass yet, just trust and believe that he has a plan, that things work out, that he has this interconnected web of things that he has going on, where he is like maneuvering all these things in the background for your benefit. And sometimes it's not even just for your benefit. Sometimes your story is tied to this person's story, who's tied to this person's story, who's tied to this person's story. And he has to get all of these things underway and fit perfectly together so that everything could go according to his plan. So I hope that you are encouraged by that. And I hope that I hope that truth is not lost on you, because it definitely wasn't lost on me today. So I pretty much, I think where I left off last time, talking, or where I left off, I guess, in life, was that we were just like going through a really tough time and struggling. And I mean, times haven't really changed much as far as that's concerned. Um, but one of the things that there's been so many things that's happened to encourage and uplift us, and we've had opportunities to pour into people, and we've had people who poured into us, and that has definitely been a blessing. One example of something interesting that's recently happened was that my daughter, I'm sorry, I'm cold. My daughter, like, she rides her scooter every day to school. And just happened. I think it was Thursday. One Thursday, we she had to go. She had a field trip, and so we went on the field trip. We rode the scooters to school, went to the field trip, and then I was just beat. Like I chaperoned the field trip, and I was tired of watching 7 kids all day. So I went back and I was like, I'm just going to get her and her brother out of school early. I'm not going to deal with all this. As soon as we came back from the um, field trip, I got them out of school. Well, when I got them out of school, I forgot because I was so tired. Excuses, right? I forgot that we had rode bikes and scooters to school that day. So I just picked them up from school, put them in my car, and we went home because I was tired. So we got home, did our normal Thursday routine, woke up Friday morning. My son wasn't feeling well and it was sprinkling. So I was like, you know what? We're not going to ride to school today. We'll drive. So that's what I did. Went through the line, dropped off my daughter, and then came back and picked up my son, once he was feeling a little bit better, dropped him off, and then came back. And I had other things. I think me and my husband did a lot of stuff because that night before we had to do a fundraiser. We had to go to a fundraiser for the refurbishment of a historic church. So we were doing that. And so it was just a busy, busy week. And then that night, my older daughter had a dance performance that we had to go to. So it was just a really, really busy week. So picked them up from school. They walked out because they forgot that the day before they dropped off scooters and bikes. And so they came out a different door. They came out the walker's door. Well, when they came out the walker's door, then they didn't see their bike and scooter because they didn't come out the biker and scooter door. So they came they came to me, we walked home. So then so their bike and scooter stayed there all weekend. Monday, I think it rained, or we were super late because I was frustrated about this. We were super late getting out of the house on that Monday. And so when we got out of the house, we were just rushing. So I dropped them off again in the car. So picked them up again as walkers. And then Tuesday morning, I was like, oh, let's ride. I was like, we haven't ridden since I don't know when. Let's ride bikes to school this morning. And so we go out there and his bike and her scooter are missing. I'm like, did somebody just come up in my garage and steal my kid's bike and scooter? Did this really happen? I just couldn't believe it. And so my husband was like, no, y'all probably left it at school. I was like, I don't remember the last time we even rode it to school. So so I was like, okay, let's just go because we're running late. We hop in the car. But instead of me dropping them off in the line, I park and then we walk up the walkway like we would if we were biking to school. So we get to the bike rack and my son's bike is there. So we're like, oh, good. But my daughter's scooter is not. And I was like, well, where's her scooter? So I see this other scooter that looks exactly like hers. And I feel like I ain't seen nobody with a scooter like hers. So I was like, this must be her scooter. I'm inspecting the scooter. My daughter fell off her scooter before and scraped it up. So in the area where it was, where my daughter's scooter would have been scraped up, this scooter was scraped up as well. And so I was like, oh, this person stole my daughter's scooter and took her stickers off and brought it to school like it was theirs. They wiped it down and all this, that, and the other. I was just appalled. And I'm reaching out to the principal and I was like, my daughter lost her scooter and I think that somebody stole it. I think the person that stole it goes to that school and blah, blah, blah. So the principal was like, I'm going to research it. And so I was like, okay. So then I'm all in my own head. I'm home and I'm trying to find pictures of it and send my receipt for it and trying to find the scan, the code, the serial number and all this kind of stuff. So I can prove that scooter is my daughter's scooter. And that evening when I went to go pick them up from school, I was like, well, y'all have to come out the biker way, because my son's bike was still there. So it's like, he have to ride his bike home. So they came out the bike rack way. And then my daughter's like, that's not my scooter. I was like, what? And so I see the little girl come. I was like, I think that's my daughter's scooter. And she's like, it's not, this is my scooter. And I was like, I think that's my daughter's scooter. And so then my daughter came later. My daughter came up and she's like, that's not my scooter because my scooter had a scrape on it. I was like, she could have wiped off, like, or whatever. So but I was like, okay, that's fine. If you say it's not your scooter, it's not your scooter. So we get home and and I think I overreacted. Well, no, I don't think I overreacted because this was an electric scooter. You know, those things are not cheap. And so I was upset because I was like, I felt like I think I was more hurt by the fact that I felt betrayed. Like we live in a very close knit community. And I was like, for somebody to take my child's scooter like that makes me feel like, what's going on? I've been living in the same place for over 11 years. And I just like, I can't believe that this would happen here, that kind of thing. So I was hurt and I was upset. I felt bad because, we can't afford to replace her scooter. So I had all these mixed emotions. And so things were not like we got some, I don't know if we got some tough news or just stuff was just tough. It was just tough. And so I was just upset. And so I just was praying to God. I was like, just please give my baby back her scooter. It's like, wherever it is, just please give it back to us. Please give it back to us. Please give it back to us. And I'm just, then the next day, and I was praying and fasting in agreement with a friend of mine who is trying to figure out next steps and looking for a different job and thinking about going back to school and just all this plethora of things that she has on her plate. And so because of that, I was fasting and praying on her behalf. And so when I was doing that, I was also, praying for the scooter. Because I was like, when I would think about it, I was like, oh, can you please give us back the scooter? So I was praying and fasting that day about all of that. And then like the very next day, no, I think, was it that same day? It might have been that same day. It was the same day. My daughter came to me after school and she says, I saw my scooter. I was like, because I told you that was your scooter that the girl stole. And she's like, no, not that. I saw my scooter. It was on the other side of the school in this other part of the school. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I was just leaning over by the playground. I was like, okay. So I was like, is it still there? She's like, I think so. So she told me where it was. We went over there. The scooter was still there. I got the scooter, put it in my car. And what I tell you, the craziest thing about this is the amount of hope that I got from finding the scooter. Just the fact that God cared enough to answer my prayer about bringing back my daughter's scooter, it gave me hope for everything else that I was praying for those days while I was fasting. And so it's just, I guess it just was like a type of confirmation that he heard my prayer. So I know he didn't just hear the prayer about the scooter and didn't hear the other things that I was praying for my friend, as well as for myself and for my husband and all of that. So it just made me feel like he's listening. He heard me, So that was a long way around to get. See, I guess I miss talking to you guys. But it was a long way around to get to, we found the scooter. And we still don't know who stole it. The principal did reach out. So I'm sure the principal knows who stole it, but I'm not even sure if she can tell me who stole it because she looked on the cameras and she's like, we saw someone take her scooter at 5 whatever on Friday. So we're going to look into, I was like, oh, we found the scooter. She was like, really? And I said, yeah. And so I told her where it was. So I don't know if they're going to continue their own thing, and handle with whichever kid took it, and then subsequently brought it back. But yeah, so I'm happy that she got her scooter back. And I'm really grateful for the amount of hope that incident gave me, because I was kind of feeling down. I was feeling sorry for myself. And so that just really gave me some of what I needed. So I really wanted to share that as well, just to remind us that sometimes when things look tough, like we kind of just have to look at when things are seem like they're all going wrong, we sometimes have to just look at the good things, find the small things to be grateful and thankful for. Because sometimes sometimes the big things aren't happening when you need them to happen, but gratitude is very beneficial. I was researching into this for another part of the book, and I was just looking at all the different studies that talked about how gratitude can help lower blood pressure, reduce your risk for cardiac issues, and it could help you sleep better. It makes you live longer. Like all these things that having a grateful and thankful spirit can do. So it's beneficial to have one. So when we're going through tough times, sometimes even if it's just something like even if the big thing you're praying for hasn't been answered, maybe keep a journal of just the little things. I have this list that I keep in a spiral notebook that I've been keeping probably, I don't know, since 2016, maybe, where I try to do it at least 3 times a week. Just write down something I'm thankful for. And sometimes that's something I'm thankful for is I made groceries today. We were able to buy groceries. That's something to be grateful for. Sometimes it's we got out of the door on time. Sometimes it's I was patient. Like that's a big one. So it just depends on so sometimes instead of focusing on the one thing that we're asking him for we have not yet come to, that has not yet come to fruition, instead of focusing on that, maybe we should just try to change our focus. And so I hope that that'll be helpful to you. Just get you a little spiral notebook for 67 cents at Walmart I'm not shopping at Walmart or Target right now. Where else? Dollar Tree is my favorite, and HEB. I'm in that thing all the time. Kroger, they got me. So any of those places, get you a spiral notebook and just keep it. Write the date and write something you're thankful for. And the thing about it, though, is that it's a great reference, a great frame of reference to go back. And it's sometimes where I can be thankful for big things, like when we got to buy this house, and it's sometimes when I can be grateful for small things where I got to sit quietly on the porch by myself in the morning and have a cup of coffee. So gratitude is very important. And so I hope that you join me in the act of really being more grateful in my everyday life. And if you have anything that you need prayer for, or anything you want me to come into agreement with you about, or anything that you want to share, or anything you want to say, you can always email me at showersfromthesource@gmail.com. So thank you so much for joining me as I ramble on for this first episode of season 2 of Showers from the Source. Next week, we'll be back. We'll have a lesson. We're going to be talking about Tamar. So I'm really excited about that one, and I hope you join me. See you next Sunday. Bye.